The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard.
The Lotus 49 World Cup Championship presented by Tidal Influence comes to the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit for round number 5 at 12 on the schedule that celebrates the 50th anniversary of a historic race car. And all the iconic Lotus 49 action from green flag to victory donuts can be seen live as it happens here on iRacing Live and, of course, the global sim racing channel. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to GSRC's coverage of the Countdown to Green. I'm not quite soup here this afternoon, but I am #DoYouMind Jake Sperry, joined in the booth by our Lotus 49 expert Joe Peak. I'm Jed Yarman, is our director, and Dougie Beard is the camera guru. Over the next 10 streamy, award-worthy minutes, GSRC will bring you all the storylines and all the stats and facts you need to appreciate the 24 laps here today of what is the simulated historic open-wheel racing that will immediately follow. This broadcast, of course, is made possible thanks to Tidal Influence, an ecological consulting firm based in Long Beach, California, that restores wetlands, saves and studies endangered species, and educates children about our environment. For more information, go to TidalInfluence.com. And if you were with us last time from Bathurst, you saw point leader Mick Claridge have his 3-race win streak broken. It was the Australian driver in Joshua Anderson who felt right at home at Bathurst, going wire to wire for the win. Anderson and his compatriots can enjoy some more home cooking here as the series remains down under for another round. Now let me reintroduce Joe Peak here to tell us about this Phillip Island circuit.
Thanks, Jake. This is a track that'll really separate the good drivers from the great drivers. Decreasing radius corners all over the place, some off-camber bends, and a few really gutsy sweepers that'll test the mettle of even the greatest masters of this old machine. This really is 2.7 miles of trademark Australia. If you had anything more to ask of this 12-turn course, it'd probably be elevation change, and well, it's got that too. While passing is going to be pretty tough, you shouldn't expect a processional race today. Mistakes aplenty will catch many a driver off guard into corners like the Southern Loop and Lukey Heights. The first people to reach the flag will be the ones who minimize the whoopsies the most. But to give us a real feel for what they'll be experiencing, let's head to the GSRC lap guide. All right, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Phillip Island. Coming down the Gardner Straight, let the car drift to the left and get ready to slow up for Doohan. This quick sweeper offers something of a passing opportunity, but trying to slip through here too wide can be pretty scary. Be prepared for some intense battles in this first corner. Then bring it back to the right as best you can and get the car rotated into the Southern Loop. You don't want to apex too early around this extremely long bend. Set yourself up so that you can get off the exit smoothly and confidently on the power. From there, it's a short burst to Stoner where you can't quite take it flat out. Feather the throttle until you're confident you won't understeer into the grass. But don't get too eager because before you know it, you're braking for Honda. This is another spot where a lot of passes will tend to take place. You only get a short squirt of the throttle before you're chucked into Siberia. Despite a fair bit of camber here, it's best to try and late apex this uphill bend. It's going to be especially tricky to get the power down here because of the kink of turn 7. A little safety lift to about 90% throttle will keep the car from swapping ends on you. Then lift through 8, give another stab to the power, and finally scrub off speed up and around Lukey Heights. Hug the inside of the corner all the way to the exit so that you can have the proper line into MG. Don't let the slow speeds fool you because the downhill braking into this hairpin makes it easy to overshoot the apex. After that, the track immediately switches back through turn 11 where you've got to wait patiently before fully getting onto the gas. Then comes what I think is the most fun corner of the circuit. Give it a big lift coming into 12, but tuck the wheel right up to the inside curb. Slowly feed on the power and counter steer to keep the car straight so that you can really fly out of here. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Phillip Island.
And there you could see a fantastic lap on board the GSRC Lotus 49. And well, with qualifying underway at the moment, it's very well all important to look at the point standings and how things are playing in at this moment in time. And well, as you can see, as it comes up on your screen around about now, you will see that it is that driver of Mick Claridge who still holds the lead here in this championship. Of course, those dominant 3 wins at the start of the season coming into effect. It's also worth noting that with a second podium of the season, you look at the driver there of what is Ove Trengereld. He gets himself there at fantastic second place. Josh Anderson, after his victory, jumps up into third, and you wouldn't expect too much. Spaniard Borja Casal will move up into fourth here, and what you look is there is 5 drivers that are tied for 5th place overall in this championship. And of course, where are you in terms of Drivers' Championship? When you don't have a Teams Championship here, and when you see that up on your screen, you will see that Mick Claridge has been influential for the UK team. They stay out in front and stay out in front quite well here, but hot on the heels, you have to look at this. It's Anderson's win that helps them here. Australia move up from up into 4th position overall, and they're the only country with a win outside other with the UK. In fact, they're second here from 4th. You look at the USA, they do slip into 3rd, and Norway also falls into 4th position as well. As you can see here, the heavy lifting being done pretty much by Ove Trengeride there, and Borja Casal just does enough to keep things into 5th position here. And well, Joe, you know, we talk about this track and just how difficult it is. We look at the driver's standings and how that comes into play. I think the race details for those who are brand new to the series, it's very worth here, especially for me myself also here, first time with the Lotus 49s, to just recap and see exactly how things are going to play out today.
Absolutely, and you're in for a treat. We're at round 5, almost halfway through the season of this 12-race season. No drop weeks, so every race counts, and we love to see that because it really puts the pressure on. Of course, they're in the Lotus 49, like you said, celebrating the 50th anniversary of this real-world F1 car. Open setups with this being an official series, but that does mean that there are no stops for fuel. They aren't going to be able to make it to the end, and as you'd expect in these old rock-hard tires, nobody's going to be changing tires, so don't expect any pit stops. Race distance, 18 laps out there today. Cautions, with this being a road course, they are local only, so there's no stopping the race for full course yellows. And with it being an official race, of course, there is an incident limit of 17. If you go off track or if you spin, hit another car, hit the wall, you'll rack up incident limits. Once you hit 17, you are automatically removed from the course. They have no fast repairs. You got to keep this thing together. Now, thankfully, they don't have to worry about aerodynamic damage as much. However, this car, if you start to damage the suspension, it's not going to behave how you want. So you do have to watch out for your machine. The points are scored as they did in 1967. So you get down to 6th place, and that's the last guy to get a point. And of course, the weather, let's worry about that. It is clear, 77 degrees. Despite what is pretty good weather for Australia, the track is at 109 degrees. It's going to be slippery out there, and drivers are going to be struggling on a course that already lacks a little bit of grip.
They certainly are here. It's incredibly hot around here, and that is going to be something that is playing into the minds of these drivers as qualifying. Got about a minute and a half then to get yourself home, and there's only one driver, I do believe, who is out on a lap. That is Daniel Winshank here right now, running himself then around this final corner, and we'll see if he gets himself any form of lap time here, just trying to get himself back onto the power here at about 220 kilometers an hour, just continuing to go up the gears, up the gears, up the gears, cross the line. He goes 133.9. It's P13 out of 15 here. But what is worth saying here right now, when you look at things, Joe, it is an incredibly difficult circuit. It is incredibly difficult with the track temperatures. It's incredibly difficult with the car selection. It's also incredibly difficult in terms of the championship as well, if you're a driver called Borja Casal, because he's not here today, and that's really going to affect how his points haul is going to play into play.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, with this being sim racing, it can't compete with some real-life obligations. It is Easter weekend, so happy Easter to everybody out there watching. And that means I suspect we have a few regulars that have maybe taken off to spend time with their family this Sunday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. But the good news is we still got 15 drivers out there, and with this not being a terribly long course, we're still going to see plenty of action out on track.
We certainly are here, and with pretty much everyone doing a lap, Winshank is not going to be able to get around to finish that lap. This is how the field is going to look. Mick Claridge with a stunning qualifying lap time then, 129.812. He is 3/10 clear of the driver of Ove Trengerode.
Going to be Josh Anderson in third, with Jack Ulstead lining up fourth, looking much better this week than he did at the previous round.
And there you see William Wright there in 5th position. Brett Reale there in 6th.
Then you've got Christian Starkov starting in 7th, a little bit farther down than we're used to seeing him. Same thing with Benjamin Zoko. Like to see him move back up the field. He's had some great performances, lost his form a little bit. Simon Van Doon going to be in 9th, and then rounding out the top 10, it's Michael Langford.
And there you see the rest of the cars then. AJ Bear in 11th. We'll see if he becomes the phenomenal one this time. Hideki Kovic there in 12th. And then you see Daniel Vincent Dongood there in 14th position. And it's Andrew Eng who rounds out 15 cars then up on this grid. 2 minutes to grid up these 15 machines. Otherwise, you start from a place known as pit lane. And nobody really wants to be staying there. Of course, 24 laps of this event here, 4.44 kilometers, which will be playing in terms of this event. And now is going to be the time. Just waiting for a couple of drivers. One of them is Ove himself there in the number 4 machine. He's there on the front row. Still waiting for AJ Bear, and that will be it here in terms of that. And apart from Daniel Winschenk as well, just 2 cars waiting here. Just got ourselves 45 seconds. A difficult run into what is Doohan Corner, not Dom Doohan, but a different Doohan here in terms of superbike racing that we have seen around this circuit all in the past. And where you're going to hear now, engine notes now getting a little bit impatient here as they wait for Winschenk here. It's going to just make sure that he makes everybody wait here, trying to play tactics, mind games maybe, towards the end of this one, getting everyone to waste their fuel potentially here by revving that engine more and more, and potentially just a little bit more. Just 10 seconds then before we automatically get ourselves underway for the start then of this race event. And we are not going to see Daniel Winschenk. He's having technical issues as things stand, so the engine notes are going to rise. And let's get ourselves going then. The green flag flies. It's a stunning start from Mick Claridge. Claridge gets a stormer away from Ove Trengerud. Josh Anderson's going to have to fall into line. It's going to stay line astern then as they go in. You can see drivers trying to make it in too wide here into a very difficult turn number 1. Josh Anderson was trying there for second. It's allowed Claridge to get away early here, Joe. But you see through the southern loop, trying still. But you can see side by side, almost 3 wide in the back.
Oh, they got to sort themselves out soon, because you really don't want to be going 3 wide up here through Stoner and into the braking of the difficult Honda corner. Could see some passes, though, to this hairpin.
Yeah, we could hear Stoner goes past Van Dooyen. You can see trying to go down the inside. There was that driver in about 6th position there. That was Christian Starkow in a scrap with William Wright. Outside then for Siberia then is the driver of Starkow here. That's not going to be the easiest way through, and he can't manage to make that move happen there. Maybe have a look into Lukey Heights, but it's very difficult then. We also saw side by side between Jack Ulstad and Josh Anderson. Anderson held on to that one and managed to get a massive gap afterwards here. Breakaway train of 3 then in the early stages. Up Lukey Heights, down Lukey Heights towards the MG hairpin right now. And you can see it's so difficult, especially when you want to be so power happy, especially with this guy. It can go so quick, but of course that cornering speed, that's the big difference here, Joe. It struggles with getting through the corners, and it's got so much torque at the rear. That is going to be something that really does play into its hands.
Guys who know how to really modulate that throttle will be the ones that find the speed. And boy, Josh and Jack have to be very careful about how closely they fight like that, because these are open wheel cars, and when you get those 2 wheels touching, they just kind of tangle and fly everywhere. So you can't fight too tightly.
No, you really can't fight too tightly around here, and you can see 1 lap scored, then just another 23 then left in the books to play with right now. Starkow there is waiting, but Brett Reale versus Benjamin Joko right now. Joko is in 8th position. He's gone absolutely nowhere in this event. Needs to get past Brett Reale here for what is 7th position on circuit. Reale's lost 1 position as far as the racing's gone, and you've been talking about it, just how it hasn't been brilliant. And you can see already just how they go defensive. Car was running off wide there, just a little bit ahead. That is Josh Anderson then going wide at Honda. He's dropped himself about a second there, and that's the sort of mistakes you can't afford to do, especially when you're looking to fight for this title.
If Jack is smart right now, he needs to tuck that away as like a mental note, seeing that Josh is going a little bit wide, maybe having a little bit of trouble into Honda. That could be a good place for him to attack later on if he could put some pressure on, maybe get some cracks out of him.
again, maybe could here in this situation, just needs to try and work the momentum here. It will ebb and it will flow, and you'll try and get that in your favour. William Wright still under pressure from Christian Stark out there as they headed into that MG hairpin there, and now you can see trying to get the power on. Normally, you see yourself flat out in many vehicles right now, and for Starkow now, he needs to make sure that he works that to his favour, works that to his advantage then. Down this front straightaway, this Gardner straight, and now you get up into the power. You start hitting some absolutely sensational top speed here, and it's very surprising to see cars go 300 kilometers an hour, and into turn one, a little bit of a mistake.
And it looks like Zoko is managing to overtake Real, finally getting that 7th place away from him into Doohan. I mentioned it on the lap guide, you can make passes into there, but you almost need some cooperation from your competitors to try and take it into there, because otherwise if you go side by side, you lose so much time.
You certainly do. We just saw a mistake from AJ Bear as well. He managed to just run wide through turn number 1, lost the position to Simon Van Duyn when all was said and done, and that didn't work. You can see though, Brett Reale side by side. Shoko gets himself then straight through around the outside. That's exactly the way that he wanted to do that move then. So Benjamin Shoko now up into 7th position, needing to make inroads quickly. And for Stark out there, I believe that might just be a slowdown penalty of sorts, because that was incredibly slow actually coming out of that corner. You can see now all over the back is the opportunity for Shoko here. So, you know, it didn't work out there for Starkow. He's having a horrible couple of laps.
Ooh, and Starkov is feeling the threat. He goes defensive down into MG. Right now, he can't focus on what's behind. Usually, Christian's faster than guys like Benjamin. So I think he needs to just try and look at the track ahead and concentrate on what he's doing in his car and not what Benjamin is doing in his car.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you race your own race around this circuit. As far as things stand, though, at the front of the field, Mick Claridge holds himself about a 0.6 of a second gap over Ove Trengaride right now, as they do have Daniel Winshank, who's managed to just get going again here, just ahead of them. So that will be something playing into the minds here as they head themselves onto this 4th lap of the event already here. 1/6 distance is score complete. Expect the racing to take about 25 minutes then to get itself all completed when all's said and done, but a fantastic train, 6th, 7th and 8th going at it here, Joe. And when you look at this one here, Starkov, he's got to hold it and actually goes defensive there as Winchink parks the car half on the racing line. You can see there, bit of contact going wide there is Starkov.
Starkov completely off the track, outbraked himself. It's terribly easy if you're trying to push that Honda corner, because you're coming in just off of Stoner, and you give a little bit of a blip of the throttle coming off Stoner, but you can't stay on the gas too long, because if you do, that's what happens, is what Starkov did, is just go completely past the apex and off into the dirt.
I wonder if he was actually distracted by Winshank on the inside there. It's not the most orthodox play, shall we say, to get yourself in, and now he's got to do the work all over again, behind Van Duyn, behind Reale, behind Shoko. Has to do that all again here, Joe. And when you do get distracted by one error here or there, or one car getting out of the way, that's not the way you want to really be playing it, as Brett Reale all over the back through the final corner, but doesn't get the best run off the exit, allows Shoko then the opportunity to break away again here. So, you know, you're looking at this mid-pack, they are certainly proving that you can get close around here, but again, you said it before in the open to the show, it's about who makes the least mistakes here, and at the moment, it seems that Shoko's doing a very good job of things.
And Real made a typical racer's mistake when you let the red mist come down. He entered too fast into that final corner. You really want to back the corner up, because that long straight, and be able to ease onto the power on the exit. And you see he had to lift out of it, and that cost him so much time.
Certainly will cost him a little bit of time here as we look at the lead battle. Mick Claridge, UK versus Ove Trengarad there in what is the Norway machine here. And well, now you see that gap was just a shade under half a second the last time they crossed the line on lap number, the end of 4, start of 5. So you look at this one here, Ove just struggling a little bit here to get right up to the back of Mick Claridge. He's controlling the race very nicely here. And it's not going to be a case here with Mick Claridge, Joe, of defender of the lost corner. He knows where to place the car, he knows how to defend, and knows he only needs to defend when he needs to.
Yeah, and like I said, passing can sometimes be so tough around here, despite some pretty heavy braking zones. Ove's going to know that. He's going to try and get as close as he can, like you said, put some pressure onto Mick, see what he can get out of him. That's a tough ask, though, because Mick is notorious for making very few mistakes. In fact, the last 2 weeks that we saw them have been extremely rare from him.
It has, and well, when you have to try and find a mistake in the man who makes not much, you'll have to feel that you're going to be hoping for maybe an off day, which we have seen the last couple of weeks. Look at this, Real Van Duren and Starkov then. Starkov at the back of this train. You're going to see here Van Duren try and go around the outside of the southern loop. It's a brave attempt, and it's too brave, as he's going to have to run it off the edge of the road. He does well to keep the car on the island, but he loses another position there as through goes AJ Bear.
I could have told you from the start, sticking your car around the outside of the southern loop is just never going to work. There's no grip outside there. Everybody wants the inside line. He's going to try again, coming on AJ Bear. Oh no, he's going to lose it. No, manages to keep it together. So Simon, a little bit ragged right now. He's got to calm down in that machine.
Yeah, he does, and the rears are going to be heating up, and that's not going to be helping the cause as well. Starkov still on the back of Reale, though, as you see in terms of this. Right up there, heading towards Lukey Heights. This big, long left-hander up the brow and then back down it again. Blind corner, so difficult to deal with, especially around here. You look at this again, Reale just going to hold the fence down into MG. He throws the line. He makes an early decision then to make sure that Starkov can see the car going. And for the moment, you know, he's holding on to things very well, but Starkov will have the run coming onto the Gardner Straight.
It was a bit brave from Brett Reale to kind of drift over coming down into the braking of MG, but it worked out. Like you said, Starkov saw it. Now here you might see a whiff of the draft help Starkov down this straight. He's not covering the inside, right? Reale's going to give it to him. Are they going to go side by side, Jake?
You bet they are, and you can see down the inside, Starkov will make that position his own, so he gets himself back where he needs to be in terms of this event. He gets himself up into position number 7, runs a little bit wide though through turn number 2, but he does well and he holds on to this one then just for the time being right now. And you can see though, the gaps do start to open up around here just a little bit here. Mick Claridge is now trying to extend that gap. It's now 0.8 of a second here, Joe. And you feel that Mick Claridge here is just going to try and run that cadence, try and crack the driver of Ove behind him, get himself out, and a huge drift there going through up towards Lukey Heights. There's a bit of flair in Claridge, I tell you that now.
He is not afraid to drive this car on the edge. And we're going to see that all day today. Like I said, this track really brings the mistakes out of the drivers. You almost have to drive it a little sideways in some corners, really rotate it onto the entry to get fast times.
Yeah, and you have to make sure that you are working here as quickly as you possibly can right now, and you're looking here at these drivers all trying to work their way in. I want to talk about Josh Anderson as well, because he's not got away here from this front train right now. I believe he's just about 16, 17 years of age. He's been around forever as Josh Anderson, and he's always still stayed very young, very, very quick as well. And this is not an easy car to get your head around. And for someone like Josh Anderson to get his head around this car and be so quick right now, you have to say fair testament to him.
And the good news for Josh is he has no pressure from behind. Olsted's already 6.5 seconds back, so all Josh has to do is keep these guys in tow, kind of watch Ove and Mick, and see if maybe he can creep up to the back of them. But the way the pace is going, I don't see him catching them unless they start making some mistakes or battling.
Yeah, and that does seem to be the case. I do want to take this moment, though, to talk and offer my condolences to the families of Billy Munger and Patrick Pramser after the incident that happened in the Formula 4 at Donington Park here today. A horrible, horrible incident that we saw, and everyone here at GSRC offers their sincerest condolences to the families that are involved. But back to the racing then. You can see the gap now opens up. It's over a second now here, Joe. Mick Claridge is pulling away, and when there is no draft for Ove's now got to change his mentality. I'm not thinking about the driver ahead anymore. I've now got to start worrying about Anderson, who is running a very good pace behind.
What I'm watching right now is Zoko and Starkov are still going at it. Starkov's really putting the pressure on right now as they come down to MG. Takes a little bit of a look, but he's just not close enough. It's harder than you'd think to try and make a pass into that hairpin, and it's mostly due to Lukey Heights with the approach. It makes getting close to the car ahead very tough.
It is here, and you really need to run right behind, and these vehicles, you know, you don't want to be risking it. You look at this car, it's very, very hollow. It's very much as fragile as a China plate here. You've got to make sure that you're using the car and you're also taking care of the car. You're nursing it home. You look at Starkov right now, you can see right behind Soko into one. Now looking at the Southern Loop turn number 2. And again, it's just about working the car. It's about finding that gap, making sure that you force the mistake. And you can see Starkov right now right underneath as they head towards Stoner. And there might be an opportunity into Honda. Can he use it to his advantage? Question for the moment is he might have a little bit of a look. He throws the car to the inside, but he's not going to make the dive here. But you can see he's trying to just force a mistake, trying to work Zoko right now into making that one big error.
Oh, he's going to try and sneak on the inside into Siberia, but doesn't quite work. That was brave stuff. And actually, I'm impressed that Zoko was willing to chop him off. If I saw a car dive like that, I think I would have given a little bit of room, but credit to Benjamin. He knew his stuff, and he knew that he was going to have that apex.
Yeah, he did know his stuff, so he knew that he could hold on to it. And again here, up Lukey Heights, down Lukey Heights, then towards MG. And you can see again, he has a little look to the inside. And again, he knows that he can't make it, but you can see running a little bit wide there. He's got the desired effect he wants, but he can't do it on the outside here. Coming out of turn number 11, so needs to set him up here through 12 to really make sure it works. And Starkov has made that move here before, and you can see again, though, just trying to hold it on the inside. Now moves to the outside then, but doesn't get as good of a run here. Hard defense then from Skoko then as they head in towards turn number 1. And for the moment, it's going to be a case of parity resumes itself. Starkov, again, has to work all over again here as Joe to really make that move happen.
From what we saw on that last lap, I feel like Christian's strength is really being able to get to the power confidently. He looks so much better accelerating out. And usually that would mean a slam dunk pass. Here again, he just sticks to the rear end of Zoko. I'd be surprised if he doesn't manage that pass this time into Honda.
Yeah, and he really needs to try and make that move. You can see he tries to go to the inside, but it's a big, heavy defense. And actually, it's going to be contact, and they take each other off into the grass and thread the needle. Why don't we? Thank you goes through Brett Reale. If there's any damage to the suspensions of those vehicles, that will be horrible for the pair of them. Reale now goes up. And you look at this again, though. Starkow has dropped so many positions. He is now behind AJ Bear. And it's a case of attrition here right now. Although not retirements, positions are being sacrificed.
It can be extremely difficult to tell if somebody's going to defend coming out of Stoner Corner, and I think that was just the unfortunate thing that happened, that once you commit to those brakes, the momentum of this car, it's going where it's going, because it doesn't have any downforce, Jake.
Yeah, okay, well, you're now seeing here everything that's going on. The gap at the front has opened back up again to a second here, as Mick Claridge did have that gap drop last time by, but it is very interesting to note here that of these drivers, the quickest of the 3 is Josh Anderson here. He's brought the gap down to 1.2, and he's just working it lap after lap after lap. We're heading towards halfway in this event right now here, Joe. And what we're looking at in terms of this event is that Josh Anderson has very quietly brought himself back into the fight here. It is a fight for the podium, and for the lower and minor positions, it's still not going to back down.
We've seen that Josh is a specialist at places like Bathurst, being an Australian. Obviously, probably has experienced that course in a lot of sims before. And I wonder if we're seeing something similar here at Phillip Island, that he just is familiar with a lot of the little quirks and knows how to try and gain time on these guys, sees where they're not cracking the secrets of this place.
I have a question here, and the question is, because Josh Anderson is Australian, do you think he automatically finds 2 tenths from the home crowd?
It could be. Maybe it's a bit of like what we heard with I can't think of the driver now. They used to say that about the British Grand Prix. But yeah, I don't think that works in the virtual world, but it does seem like Josh enjoys these Australian tracks. I'd love to see, I don't think we have Oran Park on the season this year, but maybe if we could see him race there, see if he's strong there as well, and we found the secret to Josh's speed.
Maybe that could be the case. As you look again, though, he brings the gap down to 2.1 to the lead, and now within a second of Trengaride, and now could start to use that draft to his advantage. Mick Claridge controlling the race then the way that only he knows how in that number 1, claiming that he has the highest I rating out of anybody else then in this field right now. Reale still holds the advantage here in the battle for 6th position over Benjamin Zoko, though, here with the number 5 machine. Just waiting here, trying to get back into it after the incident that we saw earlier on down into Honda corner. So now you see Zoko trying to wind it up, but he's not going to be close enough here. You need to be right on the rear, and Starkov is also going to try and make that move through on AJ Bear, but he's, again, not close enough to Bear right now. And
I think Starkov did get some damage because he's been slipping back. He was fighting... Actually, no, I take that back. He was fighting with Simon Van Duyn, so he's moving forward. I'm correct myself. Definitely putting the pressure on AJ Bear, but not able to do it there. What he's going to be kicking himself over is if he damaged that nose from that incident, that's going to make it extra hard to try and make the pass in a Doohan on the front straight.
Nose looks fine in my opinion, so he will be okay from everything that's happened, and he is a very, very fortunate man to make sure that that front nose is still pointing in the right direction. It isn't looking like it's drooping in any way, shape or form, but still, you're looking at everything now. You look at how this is going to be playing here. You can see just how close he gets into the corner. AJ Bear's got to be worried here. He knows that he's already had contact front to rear on the car already. So for AJ Bear, do you just let him through knowing he's quicker, or do you fight that position? As you can see another big slide through the mid part of the final corner. Gets himself going again, but now he's vulnerable.
Well, this could be the best chance that we've seen for Starkov. He's pulling up to him. We'll find out if AJ's going to fight. And the answer is no. He's just going to let him have the inside, lifts a little bit, lets him through. Yeah, that's exactly what I would have done there, Jake, is just maybe try and hold him off, but not defend necessarily if the other car gets a run, because you know that they're faster. Oh, look at this. Might get an over-under, though. Excellent move if he can pull this off here.
No, he didn't have enough there, and he was getting a little bit pinched on exit there. So good move then from Starkov. He holds himself up into that position, and he just did enough there. Almost had to relinquish it once again, but holds position, holds station again, though. Runs a little bit wide into the mid part of the corner. Actually, AJ Bear all over the curb and a little bit more then, trying to take a little bit of rallycross action then in that Lotus 49. Not the ideal line, shall we say there, Joe, but still, he holds onto the car.
Yeah, thankfully these cars can take going through the gravel a little bit better, since they aren't super sticky tires that seems to come off of them pretty quickly. You aren't really affected if you go off and don't have to worry for the next, 5 corners or so.
Yeah, certainly don't want to worry then for the next 4 or 5 corners. You've just got to keep it on the island. Just got to make sure that it works out in your favour. And, well, when it does come to this Lotus 49, you are looking to try and become the next Jim Clark, the next Graham Hill, when it comes down to the racing here, the action that gets itself going forward. And again, you can see just how everyone is just trying to hold station, keep it nice and tight, keep it firm, keep it on the road. And Skozo right now, Zoko even, he's close again, but again, that half a second gap, it seems to be the only way that it's playing here at the moment. You can't quite get close. You can only just get close enough to see the back. And again, Zoko just needs to find an extra 2 tenths here just to really put the pressure on Reale. For the moment, it's just plain sailing for 6th position right now.
Yeah, what Zoko needs right now is consistency. You look at his last 3 laps, and there's a spread of about half a second between them. He needs to try and buckle down on hitting his marks so that he can start to slowly reel in Reale. And he knows he can get by him. Reale's been a little bit all over the place this race, so I'm pretty sure he could try and squeeze through if he could just get up behind him.
Yeah, and he just needs to get into that sort of mentality. It is difficult to catch it, and of course the old Murray Walkerism is catching is one thing, passing is most certainly another. So when it comes to Zoko, it's okay catching the guy as he has done here on Reale. Passing him is going to be an all different ball game in terms of the race we're seeing right now. Gap at the front though is open to about 1.5 seconds here. So Mick Claridge now trying to turn the screw on this one, and he's just been keeping incredibly consistent. His fastest lap is a 29.9. Look at his lap times though. You can see there's hardly too much disparity at all, apart from the second lap, which was a 1:30.3 here, Joe. He's been keeping within about 0.5 seconds here of his fastest lap of the race. And Mick Claridge, it's an incredible feat to run lap times just so close to one another.
And what did I say at the start of this thing? You got to minimize mistakes, and consistency is going to pay off. That's very difficult to do in this car, but that's why Mick's the best at it. Already 1.5 seconds over Ove. It doesn't sound like a lot, but with how closely matched these guys are, it's almost insurmountable.
it is almost insurmountable in terms of the race right now, where you have to feel that if you can catch him, you really have to make the motors count here, because we are going to be heading towards 10 laps to go, then 9 laps to go even, when they next cross the line in terms of this. Starkov even is closing in that gap, and he is needing to here. That gap came down by about half a second. The last time by the gap was 1.2 seconds, and Starkov will look to try and use that again and try and get himself back again into 6th position. You do know, though, that Starkov is got a tendency here with Sloko in front of him. So these two, they don't want to be having a grudge match here of round number 2.
And Starkov was really wide through Lukey Heights. I thought for sure maybe he was going to lose a ton of time, but he manages to stay within a second of these two. Now, if you're Benjamin Zoko, you're probably starting to look over your shoulder, especially if you look at that F3 box and you see Starkov's name pop up again, because he'll remember what happened last time, and that's going to change how he drives and how he races against Christian.
Yeah, it will here, and you know, sometimes racing drivers have the longest memories. They're like elephants, you could say, in some respects. You don't forget the car that hit you. You do sometimes forget, though, the way that you need to defend when it does come to that second time round. So for Zoko, he will have to be careful when all is said and done. That gap comes down again. It's now 0.8 of a second then between the pair, but there is one advantage then you can see at the moment for Zoko, and that advantage is he has Brett Reale there just in front of him. So when he has Reale in front, he knows that he can still just get the whiffs of draft then just ahead, and he knows that he will be able to get the way he wants. But look at this battle for second here. Trengeride has struggled here over this lap, and now he is at the mercy of Josh Anderson here, Joe.
Josh sticking his nose down into MG, but that wasn't a serious attempt. That's just a reconnaissance poke to see what he can gain on Ove down on that line. Even though these cars, like I said, they've got a little bit harder tires, the track does rubber in a little bit, and the line can affect you. And I have seen a number of guys going to the inside, down to that MG corner. I wonder if he's kind of seeing how much grip is starting to form there to see what kind of an overtaking he can attempt.
Yeah, sometimes you have to play the NASCAR game here around a circuit like this, especially when it's so hot. You sometimes have to try and rubber in different lines to make sure it works for you come the end of this race. And you can see just how much rubber is coming off of these Stonewall tires. You know, you look at it, it's a huge chunk of rubber. You try and pick one up, and it takes a good man, really, to pick up a tire like this, especially the rear tires, when there's a lot of traction that comes down off of them here, Joe. I wouldn't want to be a pit mechanic. I really wouldn't here with this vehicle.
Thankfully, they didn't have to worry about pit stops quite like they do now. But yeah, these are big, wide tires, like you said, and they need them because they don't have any wings. Everything is going to come from the mechanical grip of these cars. And as we're seeing from Josh, he's really proven he knows how to test the limits of that mechanical grip. Just look at, he's now within 0.3. He is really slathering it on.
Yeah, he is here, and he needs to make sure that he can try and force a mistake out of the Norwegian here, and you can see a big wide drift there, just caught the inside curve a little bit too much, a little bit of dirt kicking up, and now you can see Anderson trying to force the matter in MG. That's not going to work. Had to back out of it then, and loses a little bit more time as they let Mick Claridge just slowly ebb away, and Anderson wants to make the move in a way that doesn't sacrifice the time here, when maybe has a half chance of catching Claridge or making the mistake out of Claridge here. I always go back to the Ayrton Senna Monaco event where he crashed. He was 45 seconds in front there, and Prost just kept the pressure on, and that's what Anderson will want to do in this situation.
We had a big mistake from Billy Bob Wright. He's now down to 5th position. This was an MG corner. Not sure if we could get a replay. Let's see and take a look at this. Now, this is pretty easy to do with this coming off of Lukey Heights. Even though you're hugging that left-hand side, you still kind of have to bring your car over. And you can see it just bobbled a little bit. And once you touch the dirt with these wheels in the braking zone, you're not saving the car. It's going around.
Starkov then, Danny inside is Shoko, and Shoko trying to hold on to it. Starkov again, though, has the inside for turn number 2. And you can see there's no grip then for Shoko to work with. He's going to have to relinquish that position there. He was just stuck outside, and that's exactly how that driver of Starkov wanted to make the move. That was pretty much textbook in a Lotus 49.
Oh, look at this battle for second place. Josh Anderson around the outside of turn 8. I've never seen someone pass there.
Well, you're going to see a replay here of how he's done it. He's caught the man napping here. Just got so much overspeed. Just really pinched the man into the curb. And Josh Anderson, well, kid wonder he is here around Australia. He will be buzzing after that one. I wonder if there's going to be a shoey after the race.
He gave him just barely a car's width, and that is some supreme trust that he's got between himself and Ove. It shows you the level that these guys are racing at the top of this series.
Yeah, it really is here. It's absolutely fantastic, but it's opened the gap up to 2.3 seconds. Hey, you got about 5-6 laps to go here. Anderson's got to push, and he's got to try and force the mistake out of Claridge, but Claridge has been faultless all day, as per the Claridge drive. So for Anderson, it might be the end of the road here, holding second right now. I did hear over the radio Jack Olstad getting very, very angry with the driver of Don Good not getting out of the way he'd want to. So for Jack Olstad here, he knows that he just wants to calmly get into this race, not get into any mistakes in fourth. He's driving the lonely race right now here, Joe.
And Don's actually, I saw him overtaken by the leaders a little bit early. He's gone all the way off the track. So I don't blame Don here. There's sometimes where you just get caught in the wrong place, and you got to stay patient with those drivers. And also kind of anticipate when you're approaching them to try and figure out how you want to overtake them. So it's not all on Don. Some of it does need to be on the driver that's lapping him. But I'll tell you what, I think, if I'm honest, it's too little too late for Josh. 2.5 seconds and 6 laps is going to require a mistake, and a big mistake for Mick for him to catch him. If anything, right now Josh needs to be on the defensive and make sure that Ove doesn't get him back.
Yeah, Ove is not going to go away. We saw how even all their times were during the opening stages of this event. And now we head towards the curtain call. 5 laps to go then. When they cross the line, just another 18 kilometers then to go around this circuit of Phillip Island here in Victoria. And now for Josh Anderson, it's a case of hoping right now, willing himself to get himself over that line. You see though, Reale under a lot of pressure though from Starkov here in the battle for 6th position, and Starkov is going to get himself back into the picture then for some more points. It's not been the event that he wanted here, Joe, but he could still salvage the result that he needs.
Remember, Starkov, when he had that incident, he was all the way down to 10th place, and now has worked his way up to try and fight for 6th. So this is a good recovery drive in a 15-car field, and he might get an opportunity here down in the Southern Loop. He's brave.
Brave, but couldn't quite commit to it there. Just didn't have enough to send himself fully down the inside. We'll need to wait for another opportunity here, and he's got a very good run then. He looks then, traffic will come into play. Out of the way gets Don Good there. He gets out of the way perfectly. A very heavy defense then, down onto the brakes, and again he's going to send it in deep, and again he's going to have to wait and try and force the move here. A little bit wider on the exit though to driver Reale. Reale holds on to the position for the moment as they head into the left-hander, but a big slide there, and that was all done because Starkov tried to force the note down the inside. They hold it together though. They stay line astern.
It seems like Starkov has that Pennsylvania quake in his boots at this point. Just seeing mistakes all over the place. Like I said, this is not the cleanest race I've seen from Brett, and I think he's going to get another chance. Just slipping back a little bit, coming around Lukey Heights. I don't think this is going to be enough. Yeah, he defends the inside.
Yeah, very strong defense, and is actually going to bring back Zoko back into this fight, not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. Starkov is desperate here to make that move and desperate to make it happen here. See, right-hander, final corner, has to lift here, but then really open up the power here down this front straight, this Gardner straight. Unfortunately, they're not going to tackle that very, very difficult pit road, but what they are going to have to tackle here is turn number 1. You can see close, 2/10, 1/10, then onto the brakes into turn 1, and again, Starkov has to back out of it then. Just doesn't have enough. He's close, but close is not good enough, and again, he's just trying every corner. He'll have a little peek down the inside, hope something happens, and here he tries and they get close, and I believe there was a little bit of contact, rear to nose.
Oh, but now he's going to get another chance. He might try too wide through Stoner. No, he's going to try and lift out of it. He might be too far back on the braking down into Honda. Oh, and look at this around the outside. Can he get it wound up in time? Keep it out of the dirt, Christian. And just not enough. Maybe gets the bite off the corner. He's going to have the inside into Siberia. Beautiful move.
Oh, what a move from Starkov, and Starkov holds the position. Now you look at this. Now you see Shoko back into the fight, trying to get away around Riale. This is fantastic for your lower part of the field. And you can see again just how Starkov is trying to pull away here. Just took all of the corner and a little bit more here in this situation. Now Shoko wants a piece of the action, and still it's close, but at the moment, close is not going to be close enough in terms of the racing right now. We got ourselves 3 laps to go in this event, Joe, and there's still a battle for the podium.
Christian made lemonade out of lemons there. I thought for sure that him going that wide would mean he's not going to get this pass done, but he did what he needed to do, which is carry the momentum out of that wider line, and that gave him traction off the corner and gave him the inside for Siberia to get that pass done. Just really smart driving from Christian.
Joe, I'm going to correct you. He didn't make lemonade out of lemons. He made lemonade out of lines there. That was just how good he was in terms of the move that he got. Riale, though, still under pressure from Soko, still looking to try and make that happen here. And again, you can see a little bit of a twitch there, a little bit of the rear stepping out there, just trying to modulate that throttle the way he needs to. But he has that slipstream in front of him. He can use that to his advantage. I still want to look, though, at a battle for the podium then. As you can see, Ove is just waiting, biding his time. Anderson has not been able to clear his man here, and that is the big fault coming into the last 2 laps.
Boy, Ove's been doing everything right, which is to just hold on, like you said, keep applying the pressure, not drop back. And I think some of that is helped by this long Gardner straight we're going to see right here. As long as he stays within the slipstream, that gives him maybe about 1/10 or 2/10 each lap so that he doesn't pull away from him, so that he can keep Josh within striking distance.
Yeah, you can see he gets a mega run coming out of the corner and almost has a look down to the inside. It was a little bit too far back to make work of it, so he knows that he can get the run off the final corner. He knows he needs to be right there come the final lap, so 2 laps to go. Needs to force the mistake out of Anderson. Anderson will get the better run coming out of the corner then of the southern loop. Now heads towards Stoner, turn number 3, and Honda, turn number 4. Of course, formerly a Honda test track, and now you can see again, though, Josh Anderson under a lot of pressure, actually now physically defending into corners. That's how much pressure Ove, the Norwegian, is really putting on him right now.
And this is putting the widest smile across Mick Claridge's face. That Brit is just looking at his F3 box, seeing that little time go up to 3.5 seconds, and know that those guys are fighting and costing each other time, releasing the pressure on Mick.
Yeah, and this battle in the lower half of the field with Shoko and Riale, that one has opened out, so that's not going to be enough then to really make that pay. So we'll focus on this battle then for the final spots on the podium, for the final lap and a little bit then of the race down into MG. No, not close enough for the moment, and you can still see here everyone just trying to play it, and there's been a mistake for Starkov, I believe that has been, and you can see gets himself into the corner, runs a little bit too wide, and that is enough for him to drop one position. Oh, there was contact as well. Contact with Riale, and the P2 battle will continue with that as well, because you can see Anderson under so much pressure then as they head through, tried to go to the inside, didn't work then in towards turn number 1 on the white flag lap. No, has to wait again. 2, don't do it around the outside, set the corner up here, Ove, and he gets a huge wiggle through the mid part of the corner. That's going to really sacrifice the run, but he gets a good little try. But again, Anderson just gets the run off of the end of the corner and makes sure he holds on to things just for the time being then. Heads to Honda then, turn number 4 on circuit, and again, you can see Ove is not close enough. We'll need to try and make the move, maybe out of Lukey Heights, maybe out of the final corner to make sure that it works in his favour. For the moment, for second though, Josh Anderson is holding on. The Australians willing him on here at Phillip Island, and you can still see here Josh Anderson holding on to it, keeping that gap at about 2/10. Turn number 8 on circuit, this right-hander where he made the move. Now turn number 9, big Lukey Heights, and up the hill they go. And is there going to be a chance for Ove? For the moment, there is not going to be that chance down the inside without a Hail Mary. The Hail Mary won't happen, so we turn to the race leader then. In terms of Mick Claridge, it's been a Claridge-esque drive, absolutely faultless. Nothing you can say about this man to do wrong, and he has been so dominant. It's going to be 4 and 5 for Mick Claridge as he'll take his Lotus 49 to victory lane. A fantastic win for Mick Claridge. Anderson will hold on to second place overall ahead of the driver of Ove. He chased him hard, but not close enough when all was said and done. And you can see Riale is not done in terms of this event here, Joe.
Yeah, but a big mistake coming up through Lukey Heights for Real means that he's going to drift away from Zoko and relinquish that 6th place. Unless there's a horrible exit out of that final corner, Zoko has got this last point spot.
Has, and it's of course points to 6th here in this championship. Of course, iRacing points a little bit different, and that's a completely different kettle of fish. But a good 6th place then overall for Zoko. He will take the final point, and that is exactly what he needed, some momentum going forward into the next round. Starkov, what a day he's had, up and down, and mistakes right up towards the checkered flag. So for Christian Starkov, you have to say, Joe, that is a disappointing result.
He's going to want to forget this race for sure. Between that incident that he had with Benjamin earlier on, and then the one that gave him up a potential points finish and a Honda there at the second to last lap. It's just driver mistakes that you have to kind of go back and watch those replays, learn what you can, and not beat yourself up over it.
Yeah, and you're still seeing here Hideki Koivisto then holding off Andrew Eng towards the line. Eng's not going to get enough then as they head themselves through to try and finish it. The last cars on the lead lap, proving that they can still have a great battle towards the end. But ladies and gentlemen, we need a second to catch our breath. I need to take some heart attack medicine or something like that. We're going to be back here in just a few minutes' time. You are watching this, the Lotus 49s here, brought to you by Tidal Influence. And the crazy race is all but complete, and well, it is parity resumed, business as usual, and it will be Mick Claridge at the front of the field taking another victory here at this, your Lotus 49s here this evening. And well, that is one talking point, but another talking point is about what we're going to see right now. I was talking about it whilst we were looking at the battle for second and third. Contact in the penultimate lap here for the driver of what was going to be Christian Starkov. It was coming down into Honda. He just gets himself a little bit too deep then down in, loses the back end, and well, when it all came down the way that he didn't quite want it to happen, in the end he lost himself a couple of positions when it all kicked off. And again, you saw there just running himself through the grass just to end the event. Just sheer frustration to Starkov there, Joe. That is not the event that he was looking at.
Yeah, if he's been paying attention to this championship, he knows that he threw away what could be very valuable points. And Christian is usually, like I said, at the sharp end. So this is going to be a costly round for him.
Yeah, it is going to be a costly round, but of course, post-race coverage here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We're going to bring in for you your race winner right now, Mick Claridge here in the commentary booth. Mick, 4 wins in 5. It's business as usual again.
Hi, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, that was a lot tougher than it looked. Trust me.
Certainly would be. Of course, the pace was there all race long. You had Ove and Josh right behind you, all trying to get themselves into that battle, and it was very evident that you had to keep on the pace and you had to keep running very, very consistently quick lap time. So for you, you know, a sigh of relief as you look at the race results and you think, you know, the victory is all yours, signed and sealed again.
Yeah, do you know what? It seems like the series has turned into like a time management series. So it seems if you push a little bit too hard, you overheat the fronts. Especially here at Phillip Island, there's all kinds of heat issues going on with the right front, as you probably know, and it actually happens in the Lotus 49 as well. But yeah, I'm so glad to be able to hold the lead and hold the gap there. Yeah, Josh was in one of the races early in the week, and he was really fast. So I don't know if it was weather that held him back today because it was quite hot. But yeah, really glad about that win.
Certainly was, and well, you look at the result that you've got here today, your 4 wins in 5, you're heading to, I believe, Suzuka next time by for what is a very, very difficult circuit in terms of the Lotus 49. So Suzuka, how does it suit you and how does it suit your driving style?
I'm normally okay there. I wouldn't say it's my best track, but yeah, normally not too bad there. Normally on the pace, you know. But yeah, no, I can't wait. I'm going to practice more than ever.
Trying to practice more than ever. Is there anyone you would like to thank then for your race victory here this evening?
Oh, do you know what? There's quite a lot of people watching, so thanks to everyone who's watching.
Well, no worries there. Mick Claridge, ever the humble man, a race victory the way that he would have wanted. Standing by with Joe right now is the driver of Josh Anderson.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a race-long battle with Ove Trangarade meant he didn't have enough time to try and chase down the Brit. But Josh Anderson proving he's still handy at these Australian tracks. And I have to ask Josh, the pass around the outside of 8, how did you know that Ove would not push wide into you? That was gutsy.
Thank you, yeah. Well, I had a pretty bad pace the whole race because I was running a setup that was intended for cooler conditions, so I had to pass him somewhere, and I couldn't pass anywhere else. So I just stuck it in and hope it came off, and it did.
It did indeed, and we were all incredibly impressed. Do you think if you had managed to make the pass a little bit sooner, do you think you could have chased down Mick, or is this a done deal as soon as the lights went out?
Well, it depends. Like as I said earlier, the setup I was running was intended for cooler conditions, and if the race was 5 degrees cooler, I probably would have won, but because of that, I think once Mick was out of the draft, I wasn't going to catch him. So I'm pretty glad to finish second.
Now, we have some debate up here in the booth. Are the Australian tracks, does the virtual crowd give you an extra few tenths around here? Or do you consider yourself a specialist on all the Australian tracks, or is it this is just a coincidence?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually hate Phillip Island, so it's probably one of my least favorite tracks. So I don't think it makes any difference.
Listen, I'm with you there. I don't really enjoy running this track in this car myself. Well, again, second place is still a phenomenal finish. Congratulations and thanks for the great show out on track.
No worries. Thanks for the broadcast.
That was Josh Anderson, second place finisher. And I believe, do we have Ben Zoko, our final points finisher, here with us tonight?
We do here, and we do have Ben Zoko with us. Ben, final points position, very crucial on what was a very helter-skeltery type of race for you. Let's talk about one big talking point straight away. You had yourself contact in the early part into Honda with Starkov. Just talk us through the incident.
Yeah, I know he was gaining on me, so I moved to defend, and I broke really late. So I don't know if we just struggled to pull it up. I think I tried to stay on my line, and he gave me a little nudge from behind. It was nothing too serious, thankfully.
Nothing too serious, but of course the racing for you was up and down. You're always fighting. That final points position proved to be a very elusive one. It just seemed that nobody wanted to hold that when all was said and done. We saw cars left and right just trying desperately, it seemed, to just get out of that position. But you make it your own and you take the advantage.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like Josh was saying, my setup was a bit designed for cooler temperatures, and I didn't leave myself much time to practice this morning. So I'd been out of the car for a few days, but I had all this extra confidence having won a race earlier and being a little bit quicker than Billy Bob. So I felt I was out of position a little bit with my poor qualifying and everything like that. But I think it was just, the setup, the tyre temps, I think might have been a little bit off for the warmer conditions that I hadn't raced in. So all these are good racing driver excuses, but I felt I had the pace around here to finish where I did. So every time I got sort of overtaken by Brett or Christian, I fought really hard to get back. So I was going as fast as I could, but they were just exactly the same pace. So when it came to the wheel-to-wheel stuff, it was a lot of fun, and I'm a little bit disappointed that I wasn't up there with Jack and Billy Bob, but I'm also happy because I had a really fun race. It was really good to, it's so much better than driving around by yourself, especially at this track. It was really good to have a nice side-by-side battle with Brett and Christian for the whole race. I'm glad they were there.
Certainly were, and of course next week you're heading over to Suzuka, a much different circuit. It's more balance oriented. You've got to rely a little bit more on your instincts, especially in that opening section where you got that S's. You're always flicking the car from left to right in a car that doesn't have the greatest downforce in the world. So for you, do you feel that it suits your driving style and the needs of the vehicle?
No, I haven't driven there for ages in this car. I'm going to struggle there, but Suzuka is just a great track. So even though I'll be struggling, I'll be having a good time.
Certainly will be then, and that is your final points position playing place there. The driver of Ben Zoko then coming home in position number 6 overall. But unfortunately, as things stand on right now, that is going to be all that we have heard from this evening. A huge thank you to Jack Ustad and Benjamin Zoko for promoting and organising the Lotus 49 World Cup Championship. You also have to say a huge thank you to Tidal Influence, an ecological consulting firm based in Long Beach, California, that restores wetlands, saves and studies endangered species, and educates children about our environment. For more information, go to TidalInfluence.com.
Thanks to the software and hardware that we use for our broadcast. You can see those on your screen. Additional thanks to our musical contributors Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, and you can also find their music at the websites listed. Next race, we keep mentioning it, Suzuka, 18 laps. That's going to be extremely tricky in this vehicle. That'll be April 23rd, a week from now, and same time, same bat place, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel.
Yes, and finally, on behalf of the man you just heard there, Joe Peak, our director, Amjad Yamin, and our camera artist, Dougie Beard, I'd like to thank you all for watching. And it seems that Claridge has the advantage then. It's 4 in 5, and who can stop him? Well, they'll try and they'll try, but it seems that there is no solution at the moment. So, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.